Hi there, this is taken from my monthly watchlist series. If you want to see the full thing, the link's in the description. Cheers. Midsommar. I've mentioned before that folk horror is my favourite horror subgenre, and Midsommar by Ari Aster is a relatively new one. This is one of two films that's given me a panic attack in the cinema, the first being Aster's previous film, Hereditary. The opening painting, the first image, is so cool and detailed. It portrays the whole film, but not literally, so you probably won't catch everything on the first watch. It kind of reminded me how in The World's End, the pub signs foreshadow what's going to happen in them. I don't know why, I just really like blatant foreshadowing. Once the painting splits apart, Ari Aster treats us to one of the darkest opening scenes in any horror movie. I love the cinematography by Paweł Pogorzelski. There's lots of long, wide tracking shots that make the actors feel like they're on a stage, like it feels artificial. But here, that style of filmmaking works as it mirrors the cult manipulating the characters to do what they want. There's lots of shots of distorting the natural, like the transition from the flat to the plain bathroom is so slick. The shot that goes through the plain window, it looks peaceful, but it's super unsafe out there. And I'm glad the drugs affecting the group weren't oversold. There's subtle distortion to the background with swirling or faces appearing, and it works really effectively. I love how bright everything is. There are scenes that are almost overexposed and the colours are so vibrant, which is really rare to see in a horror film. The production design is brilliant as well. All the buildings and the various paintings and drawings are just fantastic. It's such an immersive experience. The cast are uniformly great. Florence Pugh gives a brilliant performance as someone who's going through intense grief. 2019 was a great year for Florence Pugh. She did 3 masterpieces in 1 year. William Jackson Harper, who you may know from The Good Place, which is the best sitcom ever, plays Josh, whose dedication to his work makes him kinda cruelly indifferent to the feelings of others. He's not a monster by any stretch, but not telling them about the Atastupa is a really horrible thing to do, especially to Danny. And he also only really cares about the Hauger as long as he can use them for his thesis, which is ultimately his downfall. Will Poulter adds a good level of intentional comedy, which is important in folk horror as the genre has a tradition of being theatrical and slightly ridiculous. Like when we watched The Wicker Man in my film studies class back in school, people were laughing throughout, but that didn't detract from the iconic ending. And Jack Rayner brings a real subtle laziness to Christian, and here's the thing. I've seen criticism of the film that Christian didn't deserve what happened to him, and you're right, none of them deserve what happens to them, especially Simon and Connie. Very rarely in horror films are the victims deserving of their fates. The Hauger are bad people, and I don't think Aster is siding with them or Danny's manipulated decision at the end. She's been indoctrinated into a cult at the end, this is not a happy ending, but also a girl boss. But Danny and Christian are in a seriously toxic relationship. Christian is constantly lying and gaslighting Danny and is unable to break up with her. The film is exaggerating what would happen if they stayed together in a ridiculous horror movie way. To me, the takeaway from the film is to break up with people even if it's hard, because staying with them is worse for both. Not necessarily sewn into a bear and burned alive worse, but metaphors. This time round I watched the 3-hour director's cut and I really enjoyed it. There's more of Danny and Christian's relationship, an extended car sequence, and another ritual that takes place at night. If you're a fan of the original, I can't see why you wouldn't enjoy this version.